Hello world of the internet, my name is Simon Miller and welcome to the end of 2018. And when we do get to the end of a year, you know what we do. We put our brains into gear, we fill our opinions, and we decide on the best things. There's always a best thing. It could be best films, best music, best albums, I know, best food you ate. That ain't what we're going to do today. We're going to look into the worlds of video games and I'm going to give you my top 10 video games of the year. And I can guarantee you this. You won't agree with at least 50% of them. That's why it's my video, and that's why we've got a comment box. Enjoy, here they are, my best 10 games of 2018.
Number 10, Flip Trickster. A guaranteed way to get people to spit out whatever they may be drinking. I'm mostly including Flip Trickster because it summarizes quite well how my approach to games have changed over the last few years. A free-to-play mobile title that comes up with a singular idea that's as addictive as possible, it's the best way to spend 10 minutes with your pants on, be that when you're on a bus, train or sat on the toilet. Don't pretend you don't do it. The premise couldn't be simpler either. You control a gymnast who for some reason wants nothing more than to somersault their way off high surfaces before flipping as many times as possible while hoping for a successful landing. Most people would likely look at it and think it's a bunch of guff, and in one way they wouldn't be wrong. It is. But it's also good and has ensured that boredom stayed away even when I was stuck on countless long journeys throughout 2018. Its reward is a place in this list. I imagine it's overwhelmed. Number 9, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. A game that only Nintendo could have gotten away with. The premise to Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker has been around since the Wii U. So captivating, it keeps finding its way back to prominence as it did again in summer this year. How this is possible, I don't know. You're controlling a mushroom as he tries to solve the easiest of platforming puzzles, but my word if it isn't pleasant to play. It has that disgusting magic only Nintendo seemed to be able to muster up, where even the simplest of ideas soon become the best thing in the world. I don't get it either. It's so unique to this format, I would understand somebody looking at it from afar and wanting nothing to do with it. It genuinely looks like it's for kids or babies. And then you sit down with this cute character figuring out how to walk through a level, and it's damn good. Even if this comes out again in a couple of years, I'll probably go back to it. I'm an idiot. And now here it is at number 9. Number 8, Hitman 2. Mostly because it doesn't get as much love as it deserves, Hitman 2 is probably the best sandbox game ever made, and I don't say that lightly. If you think that kind of genre should pop you down in a huge landscape, give you an objective and then leave you to it, well, that's what IO created. It's your playground and they're going to give you as many tools and options as is humanly possible. The revamped Hitman from a couple of years ago did that well enough, but maybe shot itself in the foot with its episodic leanings. It's not the case with the sequel. It's all there ready to go, and yet it didn't really strike a fire with audiences. So me talking about it won't change much, but still, a shout out to a bunch of talented developers that have taken a dude that looks like me from a hair point of view and created an experience where the options are almost endless. Still not sure how they do it, to be honest. And you get to assassinate evil humans, which are what games are all about, aren't they? That and sad backpacks, if you're more into the indie scene. But genuinely, from a schematics point of view, Hitman 2 is one of the best games of the year. So if you are feeling slightly festive or want to get involved in something that never holds you back, go and check it out. Number 7, Overcooked 2. I'm as surprised as you are. Team 17's follow-up, which once again just asks you to cook as well as possible, is bizarrely entertaining and I still can't figure out why. Other than the fact that the gameplay is effortless and the power of co-op is real. It's easily the best same sofa title of 2018, and it takes that crown with ease. But yeah, that's the whole premise. You're in charge of a kitchen going against ever-increasing odds and stressful situations that you need to manage. So you'll be boiling some rice, cooking some meat and chopping vegetables, knowing it's about balancing your time and hoping whoever is sharing your kitchen is up to the task. It's even more fun if they're not. Taking a moment out of your own schedule to gaze across the room only to see the place on fire is as comical as it is frustrating. All your work down the drain just because this moron can't fry an egg. A wonderful example of keeping things simple to get the most rewards, Overcooked 2 is just fun. That's it. It will never climb to number 1 in lists like these, but nor is it meant to. It exists to remind you why we all enjoyed playing games to begin with, and I'll absolutely be playing it well into the new year. Strip back gold. Number 6, Guacamelee 2. A game so good at what it does, all I wanted from the sequel was the exact same experience with new levels. Guacamelee 2 ticked that box and then some. One of those platformers that you love when you do well and hate and want to kill it when it continues to kick your ass. Drinkbox Studios has this genre down, and long may it continue for many years to come. It was always going to win me over to a certain degree, given that you play a luchador who performs various wrestling moves throughout, but it's more than that. It's the way it looks, the way it plays, the awesome soundtrack. It's a reminder of arguably a better time, and there's nothing wrong with that. In 2018, I'd rather play this than any 100-hour plus open world marathon that takes days before before it even becomes interesting. I didn't hear much about Guacamelee 2 after it was released, and I hope that was just because it was so good, which is what we all expected, that there was no need to discuss it any further. Just go and enjoy it for what it is. Also, it has a great sense of humour, which counts for double, as most games fail miserably at that. Brilliant. Number 5, SpiderMan. I don't like Spider-Man all that much. One of the biggest comic book heroes in the world, he just never appealed to me as I became more interested in Batman. Horses for courses and all that nonsense. When it comes to the PS4 exclusive though, it is a damn good video game. Using what Rocksteady started with the Arkham trilogy, Insomniac not only delivered something that's fun from start to finish, but also made it impossible for any developer to release a substandard superhero title ever again. Just won't be accepted. Managing to be both accessible for those not overly keen on Spider-Man and an absolute fanfest for people who dream about Peter Parker when they sleep, it takes all the little pieces that make the character popular and relevant and work them into the experience. The story, the combat, its supporting cast, use of villains, it's all here, and the fact you can only play this on Sony's machine is madness. If we're talking coups of 2018, this has to be up there. Microsoft, you dropped the ball. Throw in some great DLC and the desire for a sequel and a brand new franchise has been born, and it just so happens to be based on a series that's already one of the most popular on the globe. Not too bad, that really. Number 4, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead 2 is one of those games that's good almost in spite of itself. While I'm not going to stop playing it anytime soon, I'll be the first to admit that it's not something I necessarily enjoy, or at least certain aspects of it. I'd prefer it if it held my hand a little bit more, cut back on the survival mechanics, and went out of its way to entertain my stupid brain, even via cheap means. None of that is important, however, because no matter how you look at it, Rockstar's latest is a masterpiece. It gets you every time you turn it on as well because it just looks so good. How everyone involved was able to do this I'll never know, and it's an absolute treat to gaze upon. It raises the bar so high, you can barely see it. The sheer depth of the experience is ridiculous too. If the goal was to create a digital version of reality that just so happens to focus on cowboys, well, you did it. The technical aspect and foundations are almost enough without dipping your toe in elsewhere. Red Dead Redemption 2 will surely be a landmark we look back on and applaud, as well as a game that many companies use as an inspiration going forward. It would almost be silly not to, its merits are so plentiful. So while I think if I could only pick one I'd go for its predecessor, this is still a treat, and the fact it runs on the Xbox One and PS4 is actual magic. Number 3, Shadow of the Colossus PS4. Ridiculous in many ways as it officially came out in 2006, Shadow of the Colossus is probably in my top 5 games ever, so it was always going to get a mention. While that may not make any sense given it's here at number 3, that's just how life works. That's as much as I'm going to get into it. Team Ico's classic remains a triumph though, and will easily go down as its best release no matter what else is planned. Daring, different, and able to do wanky sounding things like creating noise through silence is the ultimate piece of evidence when you want to argue that games are art. You don't even get told much other than go and kill those beasts, and yet it has more story than almost anything else released this year. You just have to spend the time to fill in the gaps. In terms of remasters too, this has to be right up there. So polished that you could trick someone into thinking it came out for the first time in 2018, it stands effortlessly alongside other releases without blinking an eye. Mostly because games don't have eyes. And sure, the controls are still frustrating, but that just adds to it. You're meant to be struggling, and that's represented all the way down to how you push buttons. A poor excuse, but one I'm always going to stick to. If nothing else, it makes you feel worried and appreciation for a fake horse. That takes some doing. Number 2, Mario Tennis Aces. How the hell is a tennis game from Nintendo number 2 in your list, I hear you cry? And that's fair, I don't get it either. I can only go back to what we were talking about earlier with the brains behind the Switch. They're somehow able to do things others aren't, or at least make those things wonderfully entertaining. I am biased towards this genre too, as I love tennis games which have all but vanished in the modern day. Ever since Super Tennis on the SNES, I realised it's an activity that works brilliantly in the digital world, and that seems to be forgotten now. Virtua Tennis, Top Spin, Grand Slam Tennis, they're all dead, and don't seem to be coming back anytime soon. To be honest, they don't have to now. Mario Tennis Aces ticks all those boxes, and it does so with Koopa Troopers, Peter the Piranha, and Toad as your coach. Ain't no one else having a mushroom as your trainer. Fun whether you stick to the story mode, play online, or invite a friend around. It's also able to be accessible and deep at the same time, allowing you to pick it up for a quick match or properly sit down and learn it. When you do, it really does offer more than you may realise. I will likely play this right through the entirety of 2019. Buffoon. Number 1, God of War. A game so good that I don't particularly like Kratos as kid and yet I'm happy to ignore it. God of War's revival on the PS4 is flippin' awesome. Doesn't hurt that the Man of the Hour is one of my favourite characters of all time, and seeing him interact with Atreus is as odd as it is fascinating. The way the story unfolds between the two is narrative done right. Better than this, however, is the combat, which is badass. Every single weapon feels like it carries with it a huge amount of weight, and seeing Kratos tear through enemies as he gets madder and madder is a joy. Anyone that ever said he was a shallow creation has no clue, and everything here just adds more evidence to the pot. The environment as well is excellent to explore and walk through, and it's a God of War which has clearly appealed to far more people. Sold loads. It isn't perfect, as a lot of the supporting cast aren't the best, and neither is the backtracking it does get you to do, but that is irrelevant. No other game drew me in this much in 2018, and again, I can't stress enough how much I love Kratos. He makes every scene more entertaining, is hilarious when he talks, and for me, is utterly believable in the world he finds himself in. Game of the year? You bet your ass. Now please do leave a comment below and let me know what your games of the year are. Like, share and subscribe. Head on over to patreon.com/SimonMiller316 that does indeed support all of these videos, and throw me $1. And you can follow me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. As it is the end of the year, have a great one, enjoy your Christmas and holiday season, and I will talk to you again soon.